every company has an exit point, right? Nobody's going to do it forever, except for me and Jeremy. And, you've got to be looking at what's the out for everybody when you're getting into this, and what's the goal, when you're going to this agreement, what is NMI's goal in this partnership? We're just going to take deals from these guys. Okay, let's look at their business. What type of deals are they doing? Are they cramming stuff through that shouldn't be here? And ask around. And I mean, the good thing is there's a lot more, at least. There's a lot of ways to educate yourself on the industry. I've been told our podcast is a great source for that.
Welcome to the Payments Experts Podcast, a podcast of Global Legal Law Firm. We hope you enjoy this episode.
James Huber is an expert payments litigator, cryptocurrency consultant, husband and father of two, and works heavily in the compliance field, helping electronic payment processing companies avoid getting fined, arrested, violate rules, or get sued from internal or external threats. Drawing on experience from white-collar criminal defense, civil litigation, and general business advice, including heavy litigation in the payment space, James successfully advises his clients how to avoid litigation. But some clients contact Global when it's too late to avoid litigation, and many clients have learned that litigation can also be used as a powerful sword when you have the right attorneys. James, therefore, litigates often. That includes defending and pursuing electronic payments companies. James is also well-versed in mergers and acquisitions, compliance, contract review, internal operations, regulatory defense, including FTC, CFPB, DOJ, AG, class actions, and all the legal aspects that affect a business. James is also the host of the Payment Experts podcast that I had the pleasure of being on a few weeks ago, and I think our episodes are just being published this week. So, James, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining us this morning, and let's start with your journey. How did you first get involved in the payments industry, and what's kept you going over the years?
Yeah, thanks. How I got started in this, it was we had a law firm, and it was basically an open door law firm, which is whatever walks through the door you take. But we had one ISO client, and they were the worst of the worst as far as sales organizations. They would go in and lease you 5 VX20s for $1,000 a month, tell you they're going to save rates, and then when they try and cancel, they'd have to talk to me. And so I'm doing all this law, and I'm seeing this one client grow. Why we had them, they grew from like 16 people to like 300, and basically this one client is supporting our whole firm, and I'm talking to the clients, and they're going, hey, if you want to pick up more of these clients, go to the ETA. And I go to the ETA, and I'm walking around, and I see all these guys, this is, back in like 2010, dressed to the nine, quadruple fisting beers, talking about what they do, with their merchants and everything. And I'm going, oh my gosh, we have one client supporting, our small firm. I just met 2,000s of these guys. So we saw the opportunity, because I'm going around talking to people, and I'm going, who's your attorney? Who's your attorney? And they all mentioned the same 3 guys. And I'm going, well, 3's not enough. So we made the decision to just get rid of everything except for payments. And it's been great. And the thing that's kept me here is I like working with really smart people. I mean, the payments space, no matter what happens in this area, you guys always figure out how to keep going and do stuff. And that's, what we have to do as lawyers. The laws are changing, or the laws are what they are. We have to figure out how to make them not apply or make them apply. So it's very complementary.
Nice. Well, tell us just a little bit about yourself, just by way of introduction. What do you like to do when you aren't solving payments legal problems? And before you answer that, let me just remind the folks on the call that we have a Q&A link in the chat. Feel free to add your questions, or if you want to ask them live, we'll have an opportunity at the end. But tell us about James. What do you do when you aren't doing this?
Yeah, well, I do a lot of this. So outside of it, I've got 2 young kids, 7 and 10, and they're pretty much taking up all the time outside of here. But when I get out, I like to go surf. I'm right here. We're 3 minutes from the beach, right here at the office. So that's really my recreational activity. And then Jeremy's working he's the real host of the podcast, and we like to frisbee golf from time to time.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, Jeremy is the guy behind the guy here who has helped us out this morning. Thank you, Jeremy, for the help. So talk to us about Global Legal Law Firm. First off, how did you come up with that name? And how do you support clients in the payment space?
Yeah, well, we came up with that name. It's one client who, like I said, they were just the worst possible sales organization. It was great for us though, because right at the end of their reign of terror, they're getting sued in like 3 class actions a month. So we learned class action defense, and we hired some quote unquote real attorneys at the time, because early in your career you kind of have to just pretend like you know what you're doing, and they showed us the ropes, and then we were been able to do it. But the name, it was his idea. He's like, you want to sound like your clients, and so the original name was Global Legal Resources, and then some guy came and he's like, it sounds like a staffing company or something. And we're like, well, let's make sure there's no confusion. Global Legal Law Firm. And maybe we would change the name, but at this point it's too late. So we never wanted it to be Huber Dryden, because that's not really the idea of our firm. Our idea is, separate ourselves so that we don't have to be the one of people always like, well, I want to talk to the partner. And they'll be like, usually it's to me because I'm, swearing and yelling at the attorney, and they're going, I want to talk to the partner. And I was like, well, you got him, motherfucker. Deal with it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. You find that goes well when you take that approach? Yeah.
It depends on the case. It depends on the person. Sometimes you have to be, the raging asshole, pit bull attorney. And it's funny because you bump into those guys and you're like, I get your shtick. And then you hang up, you see him outside the courtroom and they're still an asshole. And I was like, well, I'm just playing a part. I can turn it off and on. But some of these guys, they've just got one gear.
One mode, yeah.
But no, our it's a small pool still. Like when I said, when we got into the space, there was maybe 5 attorneys. Now, there's probably 20, 15 maybe law firms that know payments, and most of us get along. And when we run into each other, which we're running into all the time, except for like these 2 guys I'm talking about and their firms which run that playbook, we all get along and we save the clients tons of money, because we're going, look, we know what the dispute is. We're not going to make big issues over everything. The idea is to get you out of this for the least amount of money as possible. And because we're so entrenched in the space, it's not a one and done where, I'd love to pick up some cases every once in a while where it's just this dispute. I've got this guy and I'm going to bill him like crazy, get him a great result. And then maybe 3 years from now, when they forget about how much they hated the litigation, they'll give me a call. In our case, it's usually existing clients, or it's clients that we want. We want to help them with their contracts and their compliance and everything ongoing. So we have this extra incentive and requirement to do things efficiently. And sometimes it's more efficient to be the, snarling pit bull attorney that won't do anything. But most of the time it's collaborate, work it out, get everyone to the table and settle. But some people just don't want to.
Do you litigate then around the country? Are there areas that you generally go to more than others, or?
Yeah, well, our main office is in California. We have an office in South Florida, but yeah, we're nationwide because there's just not a lot of payments attorneys. We hear all the time, we'll pick up a case halfway through and they're going, I spent $80,000 teaching my lawyer how to do this, and he still doesn't get it. I mean, kind of gets it, and he's a good attorney, but you kind of need to know the intricacies and the players and who to subpoena and the pressure points and all of that. But yeah, we're nationwide, and our litigation, we have a lot in California, we have a lot in Florida, we have a lot in New York, but it's also pretty spread out. Oh, and then a ton in Texas too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. South Florida is a good place, I think, for your space. So definitely not a surprise to hear you guys are operating there. Why do you think payments or what drives the industry, I guess I should say, in terms of the legal issues? And do you think you got any tips for us on any under the radar issues that we should be thinking about, or you think are going to rear their ugly head here in the coming days?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this, I think, a little on when you came on, but I think VAMP is a huge issue coming. And I'll back up, because the first part of your question of what drives the industry, it's change. And then, what drives litigation? It's egos, mostly for ours. That one of the reasons we love payments litigation is we're not fighting over somebody losing a leg or a kid or anything like that. It's usually about money, and then it's not even that much about money. It's about setting an example and, being right. So, but what drives the industry, this is change and growth. I mean, when we got in, there were people still, running the knuckle busters, and then when we saw Clover come out, that was the big, unveiling. I think I went to some Clover event, and the first day, the old guy's dancing down the aisle with his Clover. I think I went home right then, actually. But
you just left.
Yeah, I think I just got out. I was like, I'm good. Yeah. This isn't for me. But the change, and I think VAMP, if it rolls out, which has it rolled out already? I mean, I don't know. It hasn't started yet. I think
supposedly it's starting any minute. May have started. Yeah, but not clear yet.
Not clear yet. And I've talked to some people at the mid to small size banks, because I think they're the ones that are going to get pushed out. And nobody seems to be that worried about it, but I still don't think anybody really gets how it's going to be rolled out, because it keeps changing. So I think that's a huge one coming down the pipeline. Yeah.
And so what are some common legal mistakes that you see people, and do you have like I'm sure you have plenty of examples. Do you have an example of somebody who just got in deep trouble, and it was, avoidable, or if they'd just done something simple, they could have not been in such big trouble?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically all we deal with, is people that, could have done things differently. I mean, the biggest mistake is, the big overarching one is, this Warren Buffett quote is, you can't make a good deal with bad people. People come and they're going, oh, I've got this contract, I'm going to make it airtight. It doesn't matter how good your contract is. Now, it helps once you get there, but there's players in this space that just want to fight, and they like it, and they cheat, and they hire attorneys that cheat and, lie and all of that, and they like it. And that tactic doesn't work forever, but it might work in your dispute. So the idea is, stay away from the bad players. And who are the bad players? You got to ask around and do some due diligence. When new people pop into the space these days, they're usually pretty good because they're from outside of the industry. But there's some old blood flowing through the industry of these people that are, have these bad reputations. So that's the first one, is just stay away from toxic people. Yeah, business everywhere. And then the second,
what's a red flag if you're a noob who's just new on the scene? How do you tell someone is trouble, or what do you look for?
I mean, you've got to ask around, because it's hard. I mean, the people that are these bad dudes and bad ladies and all that out there, they're really good at convincing you that they're not. So really the thing is, you've got to ask around. And, we're a great source for that, because we run into all the bad people, of course, right? So people will hit us up and they'll be like, hey, what do you know about this company? And I'll be like, nothing. They must be good. Because we've been doing this for, going on 15, 16, 17 years or so. So, we've seen it. But, it's hard to tell. I mean, get your poker player skills out. But I have a client who is a ranked poker player, and yeah, he didn't read these guys either.
Wow. All right. Well, it just goes to show you never you got to get some advice here.
Our main clientele is the ISOs. Now are all tech companies according to them. So, nothing bad to say. Only hesitant. Good.
Okay. Good. That's thank you. That's good to know. And yeah, I guess the less you know, the better in your line of work. If you were advising our team, I think you touched on it and saying, sort of avoid toxic people, but what would you advise us, anything beyond that in terms of staying ahead of legal or regulatory challenges? And as we're thinking through contracts, compliance, partnerships, that kind of a thing, if you were just to say, hey, NMI, you should really think about, this. Well, is there something you would call out there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a big thing of, NMI, every company has an exit point, right? Nobody was going to do it forever, except for me and Jeremy. And, you've got to be looking at what's the out for everybody when you're getting into this, and what's the goal, when you're going to this agreement, what is NMI's goal in this partnership? We're just going to take deals from these guys. Okay, let's look at their business. What type of deals are they doing? Are they cramming stuff through that shouldn't be here? And ask around. And I mean, the good thing is there's a lot more, at least. There's a lot of ways to educate yourself on the industry. I've been told our podcast is a great source for that, but the ETA cranks out educational tracks, but I think they started charging for them. So I don't know about all that. But yeah, is keep your ear to the track. One of the reasons we've been so successful in this space is because we have to stay up on everything going on, because as we're looking at contracts and M&A stuff, we're going, oh, hey, in 5 minutes, you're not going to be allowed to do this anymore. When surcharge and cash discounting came out, Visa dropped that bomb on everybody. It was a scramble. Everybody was doing it wrong. And now companies are getting fined, millions of dollars from secret shoppers going around and tagging this stuff. So, I mean, there were hints that was coming. I don't think anyone saw it coming the way they dropped it. But there were signs. And if you'd been ahead of that, you could have really cleaned up.
Do you think on surcharging, dual pricing, are we at an equilibrium right now, or is there another shoe that's about to drop on that topic, or stay tuned? Hard to say.
It's hard to say. I mean, the states have gotten in on it, and they've started dropping different regulations on that, and some of them are inconsistent with Visa and MasterCards. Most of them are inconsistent in quote unquote our favor, meaning they're higher caps and looser regulations. Kind of California's got a really squishy one. But I think that the regulation in that space will come through litigation. I don't think, Visa, you're not going to force them to do anything. They spend more on lobbying than anybody. No, he said, not God. Don't say God. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Because they do that, I guarantee, spends more than Visa. So
does Jeremy come into court too with you and just, whisper things in your ear, like to make sure you don't say the wrong thing?
No, he probably needs to.
You should think about that. Yeah.
Well, no, his main thing is he's trying to censor me for SEOing the podcast. There's certain things you can't say or it drops to zero.
Exactly.
So.
Oh, I see. Okay. Got it. Okay. Well, don't worry. I mean, this distribution that we're on right here is totally clean, and, you can say whatever you want. So
all right.
Tell it like it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Oh, now I forgot what we were talking about.
All right. Well, whatever. Yeah, I think it was surcharging. I think something on that along.
Oh yeah. So surcharge. I think it's going to come through. I think the merchants need to start suing for regulations. And the problem is every single merchant, they have an arbitration agreement. So, but maybe if they are suing the states again, you remember the first time that worked where they overturned New York's law, but then, Visa did it and that didn't work. So I think to get Visa to move on that is going to be difficult because they've said outright. I moderated a panel a couple years ago with Rob Johnson from Visa, and he said straight up, the reason we're doing this is we don't want people surcharging because we don't want cardholders complaining, and we don't want more regulation. And we're all sitting here going, huh? We would love some regulation in this space because we have clients all the time operating in the gray because there's no set rules. If we would lay down some harder rules, now we've got the Visa rules, but those are so selectively enforced.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like the future is not written yet.
It is not. It's constantly changing.
Sounds like it's changing. All right. Another topic I know you're a fan of is cryptocurrencies. Seemingly the wave of the future in payments and may always be the wave of the future. Do you have any prognostications on how that'll settle? Like whether we're actually going to be using Bitcoin to buy things or going to be using government-backed crypto? Like where, or are we just going to keep talking about this and investing in, speculative assets to try to make money? Like what's going on here? Like what's your take?
As far as the non-stable coins, I'm with your second statement. I don't think those are going to be used for anything other than speculative investment. So that's that. I think that the stable coin, I mean, look, the administration is in flux. I'll say it, hopefully there's a change in a couple years. Sounds like there might not be, but this is a very pro crypto administration, but they haven't pushed the Fed now stablecoin as hard. When that was coming out, a bunch of us were kind of going, ugh, if our money is all trackable and everything like this. And I think it was Patty Murphy from the Green Sheet. She was like, what if they put an expiration date on your money? Like you have to spend it.
Alan Kopelman.
Oh, that was Alan Kopelman. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you have to spend it, or they're just tagging you for your parking fees. They're tagging you for your alimony and everything like that. I mean, I think there's some big brother scarcity there, but they haven't really pushed it. I mean, I do think stablecoin will hit. I don't think it's going to be overnight, even though, again, it could be, right. Hey, all dollars are going out of circulation. Didn't they stop making pennies?
I think it costs more to make a penny than it costs more than 1 penny to make a penny is the problem there.
Right. So, I mean, look, if they stop printing cash, yeah, let's go. And everybody has a phone at this point. It's a little tricky, but you maybe have to have like a separate little thing that has your money on it. It'd still be a card, but I don't think it takes Visa and MasterCard out of the picture.
Okay. All right, good.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Payments Experts Podcast, a podcast of Global Legal Law Firm. Visit us online today at globallegallawfirm.com.
Matters discussed are all opinions and do not constitute legal advice. All events or likeness to real people and events is a coincidence.